All right, quick video on this 1995 Chevy Blazer. Got the 4.3 bin W central port fuel injection, the spider unit as they call it, which is just one single injector and 6 individual poppets going to each cylinder that are famous for failing, which is what I thought we were getting into with this one, because we had a pretty severe misfire, and it's actually my son's car. He reported that he had paid someone to do a tune-up, which we'll probably be redoing because they didn't seem to care where the wires went, but I don't think that's the problem. It's just housekeeping. Really thought I was going to have a stuck poppet on this, and the simplest way to check that's pull the upper plenum, as I've already done. Key on to prime the fuel pump, and you should see fuel leaking out of wherever or whatever poppet is stuck. I do not have that. What I did find on disassembly, and just piece this together the best I can because it tore on the way out, was this intake gasket right here. Probably pulled the upper plenum to do the tune-up because of very limited access to the distributor in the back, which I don't blame them for, but didn't take enough caution putting it back together, and we have a torn intake gasket, which would result in a massive vacuum leak, as evidenced by the dirt on the upper plenum. I can't show it to you on the lower plenum because I've already cleaned it off. The other thing I did notice was when I was priming the fuel pump, and I'll do it for you here. Stand by. Okay, see if you can watch that gauge. And because I have the fender liners out to redo the wires, I cannot put the battery back in because part of the battery support is the fender liner. So what I've had to do is hook up some jumper cables to the battery cables, leave the ignition key in the on position, and then the way I cycle the ignition is just by pulling and reinstalling the positive battery terminal. Not perfect, but it's what I've got. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do, and there's our fuel pressure. Getting exactly no prime. Bleeds down to about 10 psi, and then doesn't take it too long. It should take almost overnight to bleed off initial fuel pressure. This one is doing it much quicker. So the way to check to see where your fuel pressure bleed is, first thing you want to do is prime the fuel pump, get pressure, and then pinch off the return line. Now the return line's a little hard to get to, so I'm not going to show that on camera. Trust that I did that, and that our fuel pressure did the same exact thing. What that eliminates is fuel pressure bypassing the regulator and returning to the tank via the return line. If that return line is pinched off, the fuel pressure will remain here at the injector source. Next thing you want to do, prime the fuel pump, pinch off the supply line. And if it does not bleed back, what that verifies for you is that you either have a problem in the CPI unit or in the fuel tank check valve. If you pinch off that line and fuel pressure does not drop, you know the problem is before the vice grips or whatever you use to pinch the line off, which is in the fuel tank, and it would be a fuel tank check valve that this particular vehicle does in fact have. Now, I don't know that that is causing our running rough condition. Matter of fact, I'm positive that is not our running rough condition. So one problem at a time, I'm going to tackle the misfire first, Also going to tackle the knock sensor code, which it appears that this engine has either the wrong knock sensor in it or somebody's put the wrong harness on it because it rubs the steering shaft. I don't see any way around it other than to get a 90-degree connector, which I'll try to show you that problem here. Don't know if you can see that right at the end of my light underneath the steering shaft, like right down in that hole right there is the knock sensor, and the wire harness comes straight out of it and rubs straight on the shaft, so the wire will eventually and pretty quickly just rub through. I know they make connectors that are 90-degree connectors. I don't know if that's the solution here. It's a one-wire system, so I can't imagine it's too involved. In fact, the fix may just involve to change it over to an all-weather spade connection. I mean, it's a 95. I don't know what our hopes are for how much life to get out of it, but it's in excellent shape. There's not a spot of rust on it. There's a few little minor things with trim going on, but it's all leather. Got most of the options on it except for maybe a sunroof. Runs great. I fixed an oil leak in it, so really doesn't have any problems other than the misfire. Get that solved, and this baby's going to have a for sale sign on it, and it's going to be out of my life. So anyhow, I mean, obviously after I fix all the problems on it, but what we're going to do to pursue this misfire is to go ahead and just reseal the upper plenum, put it all back together, and then start it up, see how it runs with the fender liners still out, so that I can make a determination on how deep I want to dig into the remainder of the misfire issues. So I just thought I'd bring you along for a quick summary on how to check this fuel system. And the other thing that the other tune-up guy did was broke the retainer tab off the map sensor, broke the retainer tab off the EGR valve. Just kind of shoddy work. I have to edit that other part out. You know, you get what you pay for. He couldn't get it down to me. He lives about 200 miles away from me, so that was not a convenient thing to do, but this is what happens. So anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and go forward with putting the intake plenum back on. I know the source of the fuel pressure bleed down. About the only thing that's going to cause is an extended crank time. So if at the end of all this I have an extended crank time, I will know the cause of it, and then I'll make a decision on whether or not to drop the tank or just move on, and just know that it has an extended crank time. Probably will drop the tank. I really don't want to sell this to a neighbor or something and have them have a problem and me ended up doing the tank out of the goodwill of my heart. I'd rather do it before and just build it into the price and be done with it. So might check back after the intake's on and give you a quick, oh yeah, by the way, I did replace the defective connector. I've got the map sensor done already. I have to shrink the connectors, and I do have the this is another one that should have a 90-degree connector on it, in my opinion. It's so close to this bracket that see what you got there. There would be no way to get that thing unplugged with the throttle body sitting about right here. If you have the 90-degree connector on it, you stand a chance. So we'll check back on that, show you how it looks when we're done. Okay, gonna try this again. Got the vice grips set up on the supply line. I'm gonna release those, but I'm gonna hang on to them. Be ready for clamp them off once the fuel pump stops running. Stopped. I clamped them off. Remove the positive so the pump won't try to prime or deadhead pressure. And there you have it. It is holding pressure. I know there are going to be those of you that may comment that that's not enough pressure. Well, I also don't know that I have a fully charged battery, and this is a very hokey system for doing this test. So I'm going to go with it. We didn't have a fuel pressure problem prior. I was running 52 psi. You know, but it's been a couple days with the battery out and fooling around with it like this. So there you go. There's your conclusion that the fuel pump check valve is bad. I can do one more thing to ease anybody's mind, and that is remove the vice grips. Come back up. And there you have it.